right, excellent. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through questions related to the new kid in the block right here,
Yes.
right? But also, you can see on our side, there's definitely another really, really cool bike that we can talk about. Okay, so let's get to it.
Yes,
First
definitely.
questions. It's an easy one. So why Ducati?
Why Ducati is one. I love the brand. I love what they stand for. And I mean, I think they build the best bikes personally. I don't think anyone builds a better bike. And of course, with their winning heritage, especially the last couple years, it's like they're winning MotoGP, they're winning Superbike, they're winning all the championships. So of course, all of that, these bikes, I mean, especially this bike, it's like a lot, you know, the engine, the technology. So why would you not want something that wins basically almost every race in
Right.
Superbike and in MotoGP and have a little bit of that into your personal bike?
Absolutely. What inspired to build the Superleggera V4J? V4J, that is really one of a kind, right? And why the Superleggera?
When me and Mike were talking, you had to submit your application, you had to get approved like the previous bikes, and then once it got approved for the first time, you could actually pick your number. Previous to this, whatever they ship you, they ship you. You have no control over. So I thought, you know what? I'm not Mr. Ducati, so I'm not going to get one. I'm not going to even try to do that, right? So I said, how cool would it be when I talked to Aaron? Let's get 500. And at the time, he didn't even understand why. And I said, it's literally the last bike made. When you look at the triple tree, it says 500 to 500. Little to be known, like a couple of weeks in when everyone started submitting, he had 34 backup offers for number 500. So that shows you like how cool it was. Plus, being the last bike off the line, I don't think we would have had the opportunity to make a Unica bike and make it so special if it was maybe the first, because this literally was one of the very last bikes received. So we submitted everything. We submitted literally the seat design with the Y, the paint scheme. Like you said, this is the only bike that's called a V4J, just like the SVJ. Pirelli literally made me one set of tires that are yellow. Everybody else's tires are red. And there's tons and tons of details. The blue carbon fiber. Most of all the other bikes are matte. This has gloss carbon fiber. So the windscreen's tinted. So, I mean, if you compare this side by side to a normal Superleggera, I know it's all cosmetic. There's no performance difference, but there's a big visual difference between the two. So I know even Ducati posted this on their Instagram. It got like a 250,000 likes or something. And the number one hated question was, why blue? Why is it a Yamaha? Whatever. But they don't understand this is the only bike ever in history that Lamborghini painted in the factory. This is painted by Ducati. The previous bike was that the Deval was painted by Ducati. This is literally the only bike that Lamborghini painted inside their factory. So when you start to understand the history and the things behind it, it's a very, very special bike. It's not just a blue Ducati. There's many reasons behind that.
And that's why it's a special Unica. Unica, it's really, again, it's a Ducati bike. I had the pleasure of meeting the mechanics that work in the Unica department at the factory. And when you talk to them, you can see the pride in the work they do. I mean, they are so happy that they get to build one-of-a-kind bike.
Yeah, very unique.
This is truly one of a kind. It's not any other Superleggera, which on its own
which is also very rare.
Right. It's on its own a super bike, but it's actually one of a Superleggera. So
yeah,
really,
and the
really
last one made. So it's, you know, but even if it was the last one made, I think it's special. But the fact that this is the only blue one, the only one that they've done, the seat, I mean, there's so many things on this that is completely different visually wise. You know, it's definitely a very special bike. I honestly didn't think that they would make it, and they went above and beyond my expectations when I actually got it delivered.
Right. It was actually the first example of the Unica program.
Yes.
And then when it started, and then we saw some other bikes coming out, but really this just was the
breakthrough. This launched the whole program, yes.
Exactly. We were lucky enough last year to have a huge event here where Jason, also the CEO of the Ducati.
Amazing. It's already been over a year. It's crazy.
Yes. Oh gosh, the usual question. What's the upkeep and maintenance look of this bikes?
Okay, so again, gotta get the haters on me. This bike literally has 1 mile, like, and it probably is not even a mile. That's how it left the factory. So all of my bikes in the past, I've had a Desmos Adichie, I've had a 1199 Superleggera. Whether there's miles on them or not to justify maintenance, I still do the maintenance. Now, if it's like clutch repair or, you know, stuff like that, obviously not. But oil change, every single year I do an oil change. What if there's water in there? What if something happens? And then same with brake fluid, coolant, like anything that needs to be done, I still do those type of services. And they're not much, you know, a couple $100 for oil change. It may seem a lot compared to maybe other bikes, but this is shell oil, full synthetic, so the oil is very expensive. And of course, you know, labor to do it right is not, you know, not cheap.
Right. No, it's essentially the regular maintenance that bike of this kind would receive. Do you have any plans on when you want to ride the Streetfighter, the V4?
Yeah, so that's really why I got this bike, was because I don't want to ride this bike. And again, maybe people may not understand it, but even a Superleggera, which is very limited, right? God forbid something happens, you dump it, you call them, you get a new fairing. I call this, Lamborghini literally has to paint me a new fairing. So they could say 6 months from now, we will send you a new fairing. Of course, I could get all new plastic bodywork, but it's kind of like, it's just, there's so many reasons why not to ride this bike that I bought this bike, and this bike I will be riding on the street. So
I can also imagine how you feel if you got a scratch in it, you're like, oh,
yeah,
me.
yeah. So it's something that's really not replaceable or not easily replaceable.
It's a one-on-one, yes.
Right. So with this bike, yes, it's limited, but still, you can call them, you can get a new fairing, you can get a new tank. It's not something so limited that it would take, you know, months and months. So we are doing some exciting things with this bike, but yes, I plan to ride this on the street.
Excellent. And by the way, the Streetfighter is a much more enjoyable bike to ride on the street and have fun. I mean, I do on a V4 and it's great. On the street, I do rather much ride something like a Streetfighter or a Monster. It's much more enjoyable. So it's a perfect choice for riding.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working out since I was 14. I'll be 48 next month. So literally 34 years I've been in the gym, and I have a lot of shoulder injuries. So to lay on top of this bike and ride it, on the track, you're focused. But on the street, it's like, it's very painful. So to ride this, be more upright, be in a position that takes a lot less stress off of my body. It's also a reason why I'm not going to be flying around on the street with this, versus this is, like you say, is a much more enjoyable bike to ride on the street.
And we actually even have members in the club that go to track and they do prefer the Streetfighter rather than the V4 on track. This is just a much enjoyable. Obviously, you don't get the wind protection and everything.
Right.
But still, it's a very, I mean, the engine on the V4 Streetfighter is a derivative of the V4 regular. So it's really not that much less power. It's a slightly different torque, but such an enjoyable bike. We call it the hooligan bike.
Yes,
it is a hooligan bike, definitely. And by the way, the design of the Streetfighter, the headlight is actually inspired by the Joker.
Yes.
So you can see there are actually on the Ducati website how the design of it was inspired. So when you look at the lights, you can really see how the festive, the joyous, the hooligan point of view of this bike, it's mischief, the mischief bike.
Yes, and then and maybe we haven't even mentioned, but this is a Lamborghini project based off of the STO, and to the left of us we actually have a Lamborghini STO, which is where this bike came from, and then to the right is my new Urus, and you can see that color is the same exact color as the bike. Unfortunately, I don't have the Aventador anymore, but now you can see the exact color between the Lamborghini vehicle and the bike, and then of course there's a lot of similarities and little trim pieces that's on the STO that's actually on the Streetfighter itself.
And you can actually see, maybe later we can show you a picture of the number 113 out of 630, and the delivery and the design inspired again by Lamborghini. So I think it really just started with the V4J, and then this collaboration between Ducati and Lamborghini took clear another level. So this is the outcome that then more people, and especially, the top Ducatisti, the collectors, were invited.
Yes.
Actually, it wasn't that you could just walk into the dealership, hey, I would like a Streetfighter V4 Lamborghini. Oh yeah, sure, I would too. How would you go about replacing parts like wheels on the V4J?
I would not.
And I have to agree with you. I mean, we're reading questions that came in. I mean, why would you change them? But
so normally I would agree, right? If they're magnesium, if they're forged, I would say yes, I would do BST carbons. But BST actually has an agreement and works with Ducati. So these are BST carbon fiber wheels that they make for the bike. So there's literally no wheel in the entire world that would be lighter, have less unsprung weight than this bike has with these wheels. And the only thing that you can differentiate is between some of the internals are titanium or not, which I'm assuming, I don't know what these are, but it would be my assumption that they did use the titanium parts in these wheels. But yeah, there's nothing, you couldn't make these wheels possibly any better. It would be a downgrade no matter what you did.
It's the highest quality and the highest build of a wheel that you can get in general. Plus, this specific design is actually, I mean, you really have to appreciate the details. There's a light blue line running through them. So it's not like any BST carbon fiber wheel, which on its own it's an amazing wheel that you can buy and get on your bike, and the Superleggera does come with carbon fiber. But this is actually also a customized version with the same blue on the wheel itself. So it's even, once again, a one of a kind of wheel. So
yeah, you can see the blue. There's different shades. So there's blue that's solid paint, which is like the striping. And then there's blue, which lets the carbon fiber come through the paint. So it's blue tinted carbon fiber. So there's definitely a lot of visual aspects to these wheels that went into this that wouldn't be in a normal wheel.
You know, the blue spacers, and it's really, I think it will be a pity to just, hey, I would like to get another one. This is already not what usually comes with a Superleggera, which, again, by the way, what comes with a Superleggera is top of the line.
Yes.
It is already top of the line. This is one step higher than what comes out with the Superleggera itself. So they're truly special. You know,
yeah, I mean, the only reason to change these wheels, if you were going to do a lot of track day and you didn't want to rock chip them or you didn't want to danger them, you would literally have to downgrade the wheels to put on a track wheel. So that way when you go there, it's like whatever happens to these wheels, these are kind of like, you know, like a lot of people take their Lamborghini to the track, they change out their wheels for track wheels for the day, and then they put their street wheels on. So almost be the same as you'd have some track wheels and tires, which would probably be Pirelli slicks, and then maybe some BSTs or magnesium forged, and then you would use these for your street.
But also, as you were mentioning earlier, this is a special Pirelli tire.
Yes.
So it's the complete, actually, wheel and tire. They are one of a kind again. So Superleggera on its own, again, this is a special model of the best special model you can get.
Yes.
And the tires on the Superleggera are actually special tires for the Superleggera itself. That's why a lot of people...
They're a very unique tread just for a Superleggera. They're not the normal tire.
They buy the Superleggera. First thing they do, they put regular tires because they are kind of expensive to change them. And they have a red stripe going along, and this is yellow, so they actually recalls all the yellow details in the rest of the body.
Yeah, we were hoping and praying. We're like, red doesn't really go with this bike, but we're like, Pirelli's not going to make tires, one set of tires, and they literally made one set of yellow striped tires for this bike, so it would all be cohesive and matched together. So very impressed with how Ducati could be like, hey BST, we want these wheels. Hey Pirelli, we want these tires, and they're like, yes, Ducati, we'll do what you need to do to make this a special bike.
Absolutely, right. So you can see why, you know, not riding this for a coffee ride might not be probably the best choice. Indeed.
Exactly.
I can interpret the question also. The question is simple. Pick your favorite. I mean, it's a tough choice now.
It's a tough choice, but knowing how customized this bike is, how special it is to me, and blue being my favorite color, and of course, Superleggera V4 V4J is the pinnacle of all bikes. This would definitely be my favorite.
Well, yes, even if I would be happy.
Of course, but you said pick between the two, so
yeah. Well, good thing
I'm
you
giving
did
you
pick.
my answer.
It would have been very difficult to actually pick one of them out. So there is a very unique process. You hinted at that earlier on how you chose the design of the V4J.
Yes.
And how the collaboration in working with the design department at Ducati on the details, the colors, the pattern, the scheme. Can you tell us a little more about how that process worked?
Yeah, actually surprising, they almost nailed it. I think we only went through 3 iterations. So when they sent the spec the first time, it was maybe 80-85% like exactly how I wanted the bike. So me and Mike were very impressed with, you know, what they came through, and it was like, oh, I think I tweaked the wheels some, I changed the seat a little bit, maybe some things that, a little extra touches from the Lamborghini, from the Aventador SVJ. Keep in mind, they're in Italy, so by the time they send it to us and we're reviewing it, they're already done for the day. So there's always like a 1 to 2 day lag between us, you know, getting it to them. But yeah, there was only maybe 2 to 3 weeks between going through it. But I mean, all of the fading of the paint, you normally can't see if it's in the shade. They took that completely upon themselves. I thought it was just going to be blue, one shade, and that's it. And there's literally like 5 different shades of blue and designs and star patterns, and they did all that on their own. And then like the tinted windscreen, a lot of the carbon that they changed between gloss and matte. I mean, they did all that without us asking anything. The Ducati sign underneath, I mean, all of that is different, but it was like, I love it. I don't want to change it.
Yeah, it's really marvelous. And so it's essentially a design where you tell them, now the color, the shade, and so that's why it's unique, right?
Yes.
You actually tell them how you like the bike.
Yeah, you give them, like, I mean, obviously, if you have a color scheme, you submit that. If you have ideas, you submit that. The Y on the seat, the V4J on the seat. I literally went down to Lamborghini Newport Beach. I got all of the fabric from the seats that would normally be in the Aventador, and I submitted that to them, and they pulled those fabrics from Lamborghini, and that's how they made the seat. So that seat is actually Lamborghini material in that seat, all that Alcantara and the stitching and everything. But yeah, I mean, they nailed it like off the bat. Like even if I was forced to take the first iteration, I would have been completely happy. But the fact they just fine tweaked it a little bit, it's amazing to me.
And I believe there are like 12 done every year or so. It's like we're literally talking about, you know, single digits.
I know it's
or
very,
low
very limited. And then in the U.S., it's more limited. I think it's only 2 or 3 bikes.
You know, worldwide, I think
in
it's
the
like
US.
a dozen worldwide.
Yeah, so you can have 100 people say, I want a Unica bike, and they'll pick, you know, 10 to 12 to do. And I'm not sure exactly if it's based off of, you know, what you're submitting, the design you're submitting, how many Ducatis you have. I honestly have no idea what that is, but I'm just very fortunate that they let me pick this exact one.
If you think of the guidelines of, you know, the brand, the mission of Ducati, style, sophistication, performance, you can really see how those are patterns and those are guidelines on how they actually pick which person gets to get a Unica bike.
Yeah,
it's you know, and the collaboration with Lamborghini definitely matches all of these 3 topics.
Yes, and that's another reason, because to be honest, me and Mike were talking, and I'm like, get me the new R. I'll take the new V4R, and that's going to be my street bike, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Lamborghini had a grand opening event at their dealership last week. They couldn't open during COVID, so they, you know, pushed it back a little bit. And then I says, hey, Mike, it would be great to get this bike down there on the display. This is literally, and he goes, oh, you mean your bike? And I go, what do you mean my bike? He goes, your bike came in. We just didn't have a chance to tell you. We were going to surprise you. So I'm like, okay, well, now I'm not going to get an R, because why would I not want to have 2 Lamborghini bikes, Lamborghini Ducati bikes, versus just having the R? And again, like you said, this is much easier to ride on the street anyway. So I think this is the smarter choice overall as a street bike than the R. That's a little bit more, you know, track aggressive world super bike. But the fact that to have 2 Lamborghini bikes, that's like, you know, very, very rare.
Okay, so thank you, Dave. This was really, really helpful. Thank you for answering the questions, and thank you for everyone that attended today. Once again, Renato, president of Ducati Riders of Orange County. Dave, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.